Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Empowerment Project podcast. I'm Andrea Bosco.
And I'm Shar.
I hope everyone's doing great today. We have an amazing topic to discuss, and we're going to jump right in. So, today, as we continue kind of the topics of back to school, back to routine, as we are in that September period, and I think we can all agree it tends to feel like a new year for a lot of us, whether you have kids going to school or whether you work in the industry or not. And I think what a lot of parents are also going through is for some of you, your children have moved on to higher education and they have left the house. And from what I've been hearing, I know that hasn't happened for me yet, and I'm happy that I'll have so many people to lean on and learn from when the time comes, if the time comes. But what I've been hearing from a lot of you is, this I don't want to say challenge because I don't think it's a challenge per se, but it is a change. It is a change of dynamic in the household when one full human being is now no longer there. And what a great thing that we have firsthand experience with the wonderful Shar, who has now gone through it for the second time
Mhm.
with your second child. And so why don't you tell us kind of the experience this time with your second, and in maybe in comparison to your first, because I know with your first it was during COVID, so that was a whole other ball of wax. But and just like those emotions and those feelings, I mean, I see the jokes on the Instagram and about the parents that you just don't want to let go, and they're doing their dorm room makeovers and all that stuff, and it's funny and all that, but deep down there's some real true emotions that are happening, and I can only imagine what it must feel like. So please share.
Okay, so I am going to say that with my first leaving, it was during COVID. So a lot of my hesitation or fears or worries, I'm going to say, were more related to her mental health and her health, right? So my focus wasn't on on like the changes that have happened at home, more so how she was functioning outside of the house with all of those restrictions and whatnot. So it was very different because with my second one leaving, it hit me in a very different way. So what I'm going to say is that you hit the nail on the head when a physical body is no longer in your everyday presence in your home. The energy of the home changes, like the dynamics of the house change. And I know that anyone that's had a child that is, even starting kindergarten, let's say, right? The
Mhm.
dynamics and the energy at home, they change. So that I was kind of ready for, even though, it was very hard and sad for me to have her energy be removed. I was able to appreciate it. So there were a couple of steps for me in this. So the appreciation that um, my middle one has taken up so much of my mental real estate since high school has started. So not only, drama with friends, but academically. So emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, she really occupied so much of my time. And I know because she would walk into her room, and I've spoken to you about this. She'd walk into a room, and her energy is really big, and it would like literally take up every single crevice in the space that she has entered.
Mhm.
And that's just who she was. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just who she was. So it did take a lot of my time. So on a positive note, I would say, the fact that her energy is no longer here and that she's out and exploring and experiencing life, it's beautiful because I've been given back some of my mental real estate. No, actually, not some, a lot of my mental real estate and time and energy that was devoted to her. So that's a really, really great thing. The challenge And I know I watch those memes too, all those funny memes about, the moms wanting to stay over in the dorm rooms and all that kind of stuff. Well, Kiana's actually at my alma mater where I went to school, and I also didn't want to leave. I was like, okay, I'm getting an air mattress, and just all the memories come back of like what residence she's in, who her roommates are, and oh, she has a class in the same building as me, and that's where I used to study. Like, oh, this is where I used to hang out, and that's where the coffee shop is. Like, so all of that reminiscing and just being in that space was just like, oh. So okay, so I am going to say there was a little bit of FOMO. Okay, so not gonna lie. I'm like, see, it's like the time of your life. Like, you just have to go and study and have a good time. Like, that's all you have to do.
Yeah,
There's really,
that's all you have to do.
that's all you have to do, right? Like, there's really no stress, let's say, right? Except, I have to do well at school and all that good stuff, and then you compare it to your life right now and you're like, oh my God, I gotta pay the bills and I gotta do this and I gotta do that. So yes, so good that she's gone and I have more space. And I was thinking about even from a business perspective, how much more time and energy I can now put into creative endeavors where work is concerned. Okay,
Mhm.
so now that is from a professional perspective. I'm like very glad that energy is not here and all that good stuff. Now, from a personal perspective, so all you mamas and papas out there, oh my God, I think I've figured it out. So your child leaves and they've occupied so much of your time and you've been so busy with them, and all of a sudden I'm finding myself idle because
Mhm.
everything in my house is so smooth and easy. My other two, piece of cake. Like, I don't have to put any energy or effort into any of that. So I've figured out that I'm in a grieving process, but I'm grieving that old version of who I needed to be for her. And I'm basically shedding that skin. So I'm shedding and I'm grieving that old version of me that was so busy, that was so occupied, that I don't know what to do with all of my time now. Right. So,
Mhm.
because that is how I've identified myself. I've identified myself. And I know this is not just me, it's a lot of parents. You identify yourself with your children. You forget that you're actually exist on your own and that you have autonomy. And, I know we talk about it, and there are moments in our day or a week or a month that we're reminded of that. But it physically, that energy and that space that this individual occupied, when that's no longer there and that's all you have to focus on is that idle time, it's 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 sad. Like, so you're going through the grieving process, right? So there's the shock, the denial, the acceptance, the sadness, the anger, all of that stuff. And so the hardest part for me, it has been sitting still and process the changes that are going through me. So now
Mhm.
I don't have a choice but to look in the mirror and say, it's just you and me, Shar. Like, that's it.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
your biggest, you know, vampire energy sucker is gone. So it's just you.
Yeah.
So that has been massive for me. And I know it's funny because everyone keeps saying like, oh, how you doing? And I've just been sitting and processing the emotions of discomfort, like being in my own skin on my own.
Mhm.
Um, so that's been interesting. And even my husband, I was saying to him on the weekend, I'm like, okay, she's gone. So what do you want to do? Should we start doing pickleball together? Should we join an art class? Should we join the gym? Like, maybe we should do this together. How about we take tennis lessons? And he's like, hold the phone. Like, why don't you just relax for a second? Like,
Mhm.
just take it easy. You don't have to fill your idle time with something now. Like,
Yeah.
just enjoy the quiet for a moment. And that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to enjoy the quiet for a moment, process what's happening. and who I am, who I'm becoming, what I've had to let go of, the space that's been created for me, and how I want to fill it, but I want to fill it in a healthy way for myself.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
that's been really, really big. And listen, we're never, I think I said this in last week's episode, like you're never going to ever stop mothering. Like I was out for a walk with my daughter the other day and a car was coming and I said, "Oh, step aside." And she's looking at me and she's like, "Yeah, I know." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I know, you're
I know
22.
to cross the
You
street.
know, but it's so automatic, right? It's so this is
Mhm,
who we've been for well, who I've been for the last 22 years. Um, but there's a really deep part of me. And again, I think we all have that child in our life. So when I assess who my kids are for me, we always talk about how we're the parents and we need to teach the kids. And I really feel our kids come here for us to teach
mhm,
us. And then when I think about my kids, I think, oh, my oldest was the one that set me on the path of like healing and self discovery and that journey. She was like, get your crap together because you've got some work to do and you're going to be helping others do it, right? Like, I feel like what we do with a lot of students now is we can do it because we started that work ourselves.
mhm,
And then my middle one is my inner child.
mm,
She's the one that showed me all of those broken places in me. Like she shone that light in some of the darkest spaces of my soul to help me heal, right? And again, you may or may not realize this, or you may not be open to it as a parent, but if you are, something really beautiful can come from that. And then my youngest is, you've done really well. Surprise. It's like confetti
the
and
fruits of your
the
labor.
fruits of my labor. So, so getting back to my middle one leaving, it's like because she constantly challenged those parts of me and she made me work for it, it's like, is my work done? Do I still have more to do? Am I
Mm,
going to be able to do this on my own? Right? Like, so all of those questions that start coming up, like, because she's been such an integral part of that really deep, wounded part of me. So, anyways, yeah, it's been an intense.
it's been
It's,
a ride.
it's been a
And I
ride.
know I mean, I think we can talk so much about that whole identity part of things,
Mhm.
and I think as women, as mothers, as all the hats that we wear, we definitely identify with these parts of us. And then, so when the roles start to change, and like you said, it's not like you're never going to be a mother,
Mhm.
but it's that role is now changing.
Mhm.
And even though you still have a younger one at home and your older one is now back in the house, and but when the dynamic or the relationship slightly changes with one, it's still change, right? And it's still something we have to process, especially when it's someone who has taken up so much mental real estate for you,
Yeah.
not just mentally, but emotionally and all that good stuff, in a beautiful way. Like, we're
Mhm.
not complaining about it. It's just the not having her is such a void,
Yeah.
right? Like, it is a bigger void than you've ever had.
Yeah. And
And
I'm
then
going to
it's that
say,
wondering of like, are they ever coming back? Is this it? And, kind of how is life gonna look now? And I think, what we all need to do is remind ourselves, like, we're not just moms, like we're women and people, and we were these different individuals before these wonderful beings came into our life, and we need to nurture those women just as much as being a mom.
I heard something really interesting. So last week was a very hard week for me because I was doing a lot of processing. So when I say a lot of processing, I mean a lot of crying. And
Mhm.
my husband was like, okay, get yourself together. She's not that far away. And everyone keeps saying they're not far. They're not far, but I think you're right. Like it's not distance. It's what it means. And have
Mhm.
I raised my child enough and good enough that she's going to want to come back and integrate with the family? Like, do you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, and I get
Yeah.
it right now. Like, it's freedom for the first time for a lot of these kids. So they go buck wild, like, woo, out of jail. I can't believe I'm waking up and not my parents aren't here. Like, it's really fun and exciting for them at first. So it was like, have I raised her enough to want her to come back? And I was telling my husband, like, what if she doesn't want to come back? And he's like, you're paying for her. Like, we're paying for her school. Like,
Yeah.
of course she's gonna want to come back. She's gonna have to come back.
Yeah.
But but you know what was interesting in that whole process is I was speaking to a patient of mine who's gone through it, who has older children, who have gone through university. And she said to me, she said, "You're having a hard time right now." She was like, I mean, I know my patients, they know me, they know what I'm going through, especially because they could relate to this with the university thing. And she said, all you need to do is you need to let your daughter know what you need. And I said, "That's so good," because I felt like I didn't communicate that with her. Like, it was like, okay, you're so stressed and you pack them up and then off they go, but you forget to tell them what you need as an individual, as a mother, as an individual, as this transition takes hold.
Mhm.
So I had to have a conversation with her. And again, in the conversation, I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm glad everything's going well. And I explained to her, I said, I don't want to take away from your independence, your experience, the fun, and everything that you're going to be learning. I don't want to take away from any of that at all. The one thing that I do need from you, though, is I just need you to be in contact with me. Like,
Mhm.
so when I send you a text, just send me a text back. I just want
Yeah.
to feel connected. It doesn't even have to take up a lot of time. I could be like, "Good morning, how was your day?" And you could be like, good, going to study, off to class, whatever. It doesn't matter. I just want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And the thing that's really lucky for us now, especially with our kids away, is that we can FaceTime. So
Yeah.
after I identified what I needed and I was able to share with her, she's been so good. Like, she'll FaceTime
Mhm.
me random times of the day, or she'll say, "Hey, I tried you. Call me later, going to class," or whatever it is. And it's not every day. It's maybe every other day. But the fact is that she's still in connection and contact with me. She's letting me know about the friends she's meeting, her professors. And again, I don't want to take anything away from her. I want her to have the time of her life as I did when I was at school. I just want to I just want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Just wanna
I
be
want
in there.
How was the party? Who was there? Any cute boys? Like,
I know. Well, it's like reliving some of our youth in a way too, right?
of course it is. And it's so much fun. But here's the other thing that it's done. I keep thinking to myself, did I ever call my mom?
I know. I was gonna say that.
Did I ever call my mom? Did I ever let her know how I was doing or how my classes were? Like, what did my mom go through? So here I am, like, calling my mother, going, "I'm so sorry if I didn't call you or if I didn't stay in touch with you." So
Right?
it's just so funny how it comes full circle because it's so weird. Like, with Alicia, my oldest, I had to be on top of her and I had to call her because I think that like that time of everybody's life was so hard mentally.
Yeah.
Um and it was very different from what I'm doing now, but for my mom now it was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." So I don't know if any moms or dads are listening out there. If you're not getting what you need, please ask your child. Let them know what you need to help with your transition, because this is such a hard time for so many of us, especially because we're grieving the loss of an old version of ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Because every
Mhm.
child demands and forces you to become something different. And when that
Mhm.
child leaves, you shed that skin, and that's really hard. That's
Mhm.
really,
No.
really hard. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say.
And I mean, I think, like, the other side of it too is, yes, ask for what you need, but also, like, don't expect too much either because I it's actually not about you. Like, I know it feels so much about you because
Mhm,
it's real. It's real
mhm,
feelings and real stuff, but you said it, you asked yourself, "Did I raise her well enough
mhm,
to go and face the
mhm,
big bad world?"
mhm,
Right? And I think we have to agree and say, "Yes, I have raised my kid enough to go out there because they don't belong to us." And listen, I'm saying this like I'm an expert, and I know I'll be boo-hooing on the bathroom floor just as quickly as anyone when my time comes, but it's hard, but our kids don't belong to us. They are with us to be raised and to be nurtured and to be taken care of, and then at some point we got to let them go. And
mhm,
whether it's going to college, university, whether it's marrying, whether it's just moving out and
mhm,
getting your own place, whatever, but we have to sort of cut the cord and know that yes, we have very real feelings and everything, but this is actually about them experiencing this beautiful new part of their life. And
mhm,
yes, it's going to be hard for us, and asking for what we need is absolutely something we should be doing, because how is anyone going to know what we need if we don't ask for it?
mhm,
But also sitting back and knowing that, like, they're going to do the best they could with responding to our needs, but
mhm.
we can't, like, be needy in, like, but why didn't you call, and you're not there yet, and I asked you to, contact, and know that I think that's only going to push them further away.
Yeah.
And so, but just getting, receiving what we can, checking in, like, obviously if they're MIA for a week, it's like, "Hello, where are you? How
Mhm.
are things?" But yeah, just remembering, like, in their mind, it's all them. It's
Yeah.
all them. Because I remember you even mentioned, like, at drop off, everyone was, like, really up and up, and, you did her dorm, and it was this whole idea of, like, why isn't she sad? Like, why isn't she sad that, we're parting ways now, and where, you were, I don't know if you were, like,
Oh, I was
emotional at the time.
blubbering to the car. Like,
Yeah,
as
but
soon as she turned her back and walked into residence, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's really happening." And then that was it.
yeah, and then you had your thing, and I remember you saying, like, "But she shouldn't be sad, like, she should be happy." Like, I almost think, like, if your kid is having, like, a full-on meltdown that, you guys are parting, I'd actually be more worried because I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, maybe she's not ready to be apart." But the
Yeah.
fact that she was so confident, it was like, "See you later, I got this." Like, to me, that would be so much more reassuring that she is
She's ready.
good to go. Like,
Yeah.
even when like, when we put our kids in daycare, like, I remember the first time when I put my daughter, the oldest, in daycare, she cried so much, and I literally cried the whole drive to work. I got to work, I called the daycare, I'm like, "Is she okay?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, she's fine. She was good after, like, 5 minutes after you left." And but the second one, my son was like, "See ya."
Yeah.
Turned around, went right in, and I was like, "Huh?" And then I'm crying, going home, going, "Why didn't he cry for me?" And it's like, what do we want?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you know what? It's funny because you didn't go away to university, but I did.
No.
And so, for me, it was putting myself in her shoes. Like,
Yeah.
I was so ready to leave the house. And I knew that. Like, I always use that term, like when you're too big for your britches. Like, I feel like she she had already learned as much as she could in the space that was allotted to her in our home with the experiences she was having. Like, she was ready to go. So, you know what? I was sad because, as any mother is going to be sad, but happy for what she was ready to explore and experience. And I do want to say that when I did ask her for what I needed, I was specific to let her know that as I'm transitioning, like as this transition just takes hold, this is what I need. But you're right. Like, I don't, you know, last week I needed to talk to her every single day. This week we go a day, maybe a day and a half, and we don't speak, right? And I'm okay. Like, I'm far better this week than I was last week. But
Mhm.
just that whole transition, that's all I needed. That's what I needed. It was just, and I told her that. I said, it's just as I'm transitioning into this new world for me. And I said, I know it's different from you. You don't, because you have a lot of exciting things happening, right, for you. But I did make it clear that it's um just for a little bit, like just while I'm getting accustomed to the fact
Getting
that you're
used
no
to it,
longer
yeah.
here. I just need to know that you're okay. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and listen, and it teaches them to be empathetic and compassionate to
Empathetic.
people's feelings.
Exactly, exactly. And again, remember, I think also respectful, because
Yeah.
remember, a lot of us are paying for our kids' education, and it's a
Yeah.
privilege to be able to go to school and not
Mhm.
have any student loans, for example,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I think being respectful of as to what your parents are able to give you and offer you, so you can live your life the way that you want. And again, this is just my experience. I'm sure anyone that might be listening to this podcast, it might be different for them. But in this particular case, it was one of the things that we talked about. Like, we're trying to give you whatever we possibly can so you can have the best experience possible, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, a little bit of stress is good for everybody. I've already discussed with my mom, and she was like, "Oh, if she needs this, if she needs that, let me know. I'm going to go give it to her. I'll write her a check and this, that, and the other." And I'm like, that's really nice and all. However, our kids also need to feel a little bit of stress. I told my mom, I said, "You know
Yeah.
what? Do you know how diamonds are made? Diamonds
Mhm.
are made under pressure." So our kids also have to understand that a little bit of stress and pressure is good for them, but because it's going to make them into amazing humans. Our job is to
Mhm.
support them along the process, but not take away all of their pressure. Or and I'm going to say, like, in you and I talk about this all the time, the emotions that they feel. We don't want to enable them and try to make them happy all the time. You're
Yeah.
sad, okay, sit in it. You're mad, sit in it. Like, you're angry, you're feeling lonely, okay, sit in it. Like, just kind of what I did last week. And even this week, just sitting in my emotions and processing them and understanding how normal it is that I'm feeling what I'm feeling, right? So that's what we want to be able to teach our kids. We don't want to give them everything because they don't learn then.
Mhm. 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 Exactly. So much we could say about this topic.
Right,
It's
exactly.
it's so big, and I yeah, any parent is gonna go through it, I think, at some point.
Yeah.
And I know, like, my husband tends to be the, you know, he likes to attach so much to the kids, and
Mhm.
he'll often say, like, you're not moving out, and you're gonna stay with us forever. And I always look over at him, I'm like, no, they're not.
Mhm.
Like, that's not what you want for your kids. You don't
No.
want your kids, and I'm sorry, I'm not judging, like, there are adult, children that live at home still, and whatever, that's their choice, and it's fine. But I know for me, I definitely want to raise my kids to feel like they can move out and have their own life
But then
without.
also come back.
Yeah, but also come back. Exactly, exactly.
So
Have a
when you
safe place
were
to return to, and yeah, come back, but go out and experience the world, travel, you learn, meet people, feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
um, you know, problem solve, figure out, your next move without checking with me all the time, and whatever. And I think it goes back to, again, as parents, that feeling of not being needed anymore.
Yeah.
And and
Like,
it's,
what's my worth and value if you don't
what's my
need
worth and value? What have I put so much of my life to this for, right? And but you have to remind yourself that you've done the work. You've
done the
done
best
the
that we can?
yeah, the best you could, and it's not over. It's just gonna look different.
Yeah. So,
It's
the
just gonna
word
look
is
different.
open nest, not an empty nest, but an
Ah,
open nest. So
open
I
nest.
loved, I saw that somewhere on a reel, and she called it an open nest, where we can create a space for our kids to come back when they feel like they need to, if they feel like they need to, right? Like,
Mhm,
again, they're navigating themselves in a world that's very different from ours. And not to say that they're not equipped for it, but if they ever needed to come back, like, to create that space, and right, with an openness, you know so many things change, and your relationship with your partner is going to change, your relationship with your other children, if you have them, are going to change. But just, I think it's being flexible with the changes that do occur, um and being available to support your kids when they need it.
mhm. Exactly, exactly. So, I hope you all hang in there if you're going through this. If it's something you may go through in the future, learn from it. Learn from this discussion on how you can maybe prepare or how you can ask for what you need from your kids. And just know it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay.
It certainly is.
Yeah. So, thank you all for listening to the Empowerment Project podcast. We will be back next week with a brand new episode. Again, if there's ever anything you want us to discuss, any guests you want us to have on, do not hesitate to let us know, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.